Hello, welcome to Emotional Badass, where Moxie meets mindful. I'm your host, Nikki Eisenhauer, life coach and psychotherapist. And on today's episode, we are discussing part 2 of understanding grief as a highly sensitive person. If you haven't heard part 1, please stop now and go find part 1 and then come back and listen here to part 2. On to the show. We can also grieve what could have been, and we all in modern life have been somewhat brainwashed by the Hallmark commercials, the romantic comedies, the sitcoms, these ideals of marketing life. We've been inundated with these ideas, this perfectionism, this simplicity of life that entertainment can show us that isn't really true or real or available. We may grieve a sense of safety and security. We may grieve ideal holidays. I grieve and expect to grieve all the days of my life, my relationship with my siblings, because I've gone no contact. Sometimes a common misconception with grief is that if you're the one to leave, you're not allowed to grieve. That's just a misguided attempt to shame you for boundaries. Believe it or not, sometimes the person deciding to leave or to end something, to leave a job, to leave a dysfunctional boss, to move out of town, to start afresh. Sometimes it's very difficult within this belief system of, but I made this choice, therefore I don't deserve to process my grief. Sometimes because we made the choice, it's even harder to grieve. There's even more grief there. Because there can be a layer of, my goodness, I chose this. I didn't have to. And this is painful right now to detach from what no longer or never did serve me. We don't need to give ourselves a hard time in these moments. We can learn to support the complexity of our process, these realities of being a human and then a highly sensitive human that movies and TV may oversimplify. I've made the choice to be a child-free woman. The younger woman I was had lots of dreams of having 4 to 6 kids. I can sit in these multiple truths. I grieve the children I imagined having as a child, even though I'm also at great peace with my decision to remain child-free. The way I make meaning with this grief and have great acceptance is that I help other people find peace, find ease, find strategies to help parent their children. I have a lot about me that gets to be maternal, even though I won't be a mother in this life. Some grief will fully heal, but our deep wound grief, it changes shape as we grow and evolve. It becomes a different quality as we learn how to move forward with it. Grief really does change us, and resisting those changes gets us mired down in the grief instead of moving through. One of my favorite interviews we've ever done on the show, because it was so raw and real and honest when it comes to grief, is with Dwayne Osterland. He shared how he and his wife grieved their baby who died. They will never fully be over that. They will never forget. They will never live their lives pretending that they didn't lose that child. If you skip that episode because you don't have kids or didn't think it applied, the grief experienced and shared is informative to all of our grieving. How to grieve is answered by action more than stumbling around in feeling and thought in a directionless way. To grieve, we do the opposite of numbing out. And I'm not anti-numbing out. I'm actually a believer. I have an addiction specialty also. But I'm a believer that humans have been numbing out in lots of different ways since the beginning of our human time. Running for runners may be its own form of numbing out. Listening to music. We may numb out when we're eating food. Doesn't mean we're dysfunctionally eating food. It just means we're numbing out while we're doing it. I'm a believer that we need a little bit of permission to numb out. But it's kind of like me and king cake. Part of me loves king cake, y'all. I love it. Kind of feeds my New Orleans soul. But also, my body doesn't like king cake. And if I eat some, the sugar, the wheat, it tanks my mood. It messes up my digestion for a few days to a week, messes up my sleep. It makes me more irritable. It makes me more moody. It makes my blood sugar spike and then drop. I don't like it. So if I'm going to allow myself to have some king cake, there has to be some limits there. If not, I'm literally going to make myself sick, uncomfortable, unwell. So consider the ways that you numb out. I think part of why we numb out so much is because there's an internal subconscious fear of, numbing out is bad. I'm never allowed to numb out. So now I'm going to numb out even harder. So much of our psychology is not logical. It is paradoxical. And I find that the more permission I give to reasonably numb out, the less I dysfunctionally numb out. Consider your relationship with numbing out, now, in the past, how you'd like it to be. And we numb out because we're overwhelmed, because we're scared of the intensity that we are feeling. But that's a falsehood. We feel the intensity anyway. Almost makes me want to laugh. What a joke that we would avoid intensity as highly sensitive people. We lie to ourselves if we try to numb out too much and avoid what is natural for us to feel. We numb out because of sadness, because of heartbreak, because we feel understood and because we feel misunderstood and lonely in our grief. When we've grown up with this, "Oh no, don't cry" message, we'll shut down on ourselves before anybody else even has the chance to say that to us. If society has taught us to unnaturally stuff our feelings, to not deal, then healing is learning how to deal, how to face those feelings. Numbing pauses our process. It pauses our grief process. Too much numbing gets us mired down and stuck. So if I'm going to have that cake, I want a little slice, or I only want it for a weekend, and then I go back to my high protein, low carb diet that works for me. Grief is the same. Numbing out is the same. Having our feelings is the same. What an empowerment to give ourselves permission that we get to work within these factors, just like driving a car is part gas, part brake, part steering wheel. We get to give gas or give brake to our emotional processes, from the numbing to the feeling. And we can take some turns that are useful for us to take along the way. So the opposite of numbing moves us through to the other side of grief. Healthy numbing is like a pause, and we get to have a pause and regroup and recollect. I see two pictures when it comes to grief. I see someone stuck on an island in view of the shore. And there are people on that shore, just chilling at the beach, having a glorious day, while the person stuck in grief is on that island, looking at the shore, looking at the big gap, the big open water from island back to shore. I also see a coin, where one side of our grief, one side of that coin is numbing, and the other side is feeling. You can't have a coin without both of those sides. And we can't have a grief process without understanding, allowing, and moving through the dance of numbing and grief, numbing and pain. Facing the grief process is standing on that island, maybe pausing for a bit, maybe numbing out for a bit, maybe in denial of what must be faced for a moment, that open water, swimming against the waves, against the current to make it off the island, to make it through the grief to the other side, back to safe shore. The only way through is through. Someone can't get off that grief island. Someone can't get off that grief island if they freeze, if they stay in denial and numbing. At a point to save themselves, they must move, despite their fears. No matter how big, no matter how wide that fear may present itself to be. No matter how strongly parts of them resist getting off that island and into that water. Can you see how natural it would be to stand on that island and feel resistant to any action or any idea that says, hey, get in that water. You got to save yourself. I think we would all hear an internal conflict of a part of us saying, don't want to do that. Seems safer to just not move and stay here on this island. We will starve to death on that island. We will die from the elements. Too much sun and dehydration. We must move, no matter what we feel or what we think, to save ourselves sometimes. I don't like that the field of mental health in the last couple decades has given so much oomph to feeling that people seem more now than ever before to think it's reasonable to just stay in discomfort and anxiety instead of move through and move forward through a process of feeling. Yes, our feelings as sensitive people are important. Our actions very often might be more important than what we feel or what we think. There's a saying amongst trauma therapists, sure, you can move slowly, but you must move. So how do we functionally get to the other side of our grief, get off that isolated island of pain that's so dooming, to join the living again, to join life again after profound loss, after deep disappointment, after wide pain? And don't forget, I mentioned it in this episode, my course, 30 Days to Peace, it kicks off on the 1st of the month. We will blink and the next month will be here. Go ahead and sign up now. This is a program that I have created. It is designed to help you turn stress into calm with ease. Ease is so important to me. You have had enough that has been hard in your life. You get to learn coping strategies that are easy. These are daily practices that take just 5 to 15 minutes a day. In 30 days, you'll have cultivated lasting inner peace and a myriad of exercises that are simple and easy that you get to hold in your pocket for whenever you need them. Sign up now at emotionalbadass.com/peace. Use the code we have that's only for listeners. Use code BADASS to save 30% off. All right, here are my tips, y'all. We sit and we feel. It's not just true of grief, it's even true of chronic physical pain. What we resist persists. We can learn to go right into that pain instead of denying it, instead of avoiding it, instead of trying to dance around it. Go to that emotional pain spot and be there. Nowhere else. Don't squirm away from it. Don't go to your head just because you're used to going to your head when you feel. Let your body heave if it's sad and crying. Scream. Write an F-you letter if you're angry. If you feel blah, go into that blah. Feel it. Quit trying to not feel it and just see what kind of magic might happen. And then listen. Listen more deeply, listen more profoundly than maybe you've ever listened before. Listen to your inner guidance system. Your inner self knows the next right move. Even if you've been conditioned to throw your knowing out the window and just sit in, I don't know, please somebody tell me, I don't want to make the wrong move. You do know your inner being, your higher consciousness knows. Sometimes your higher consciousness may say to you, you got to sit here longer. Or this is one of many sessions that you will face. Sometimes you will hear, feel, sense a permission that was enough for now. And it's time to go for a walk. It's time to watch a movie. It's time to call a friend or a loved one or schedule a therapy session. You will know if it's right to sit in more emotion or if it is right to shift. Listen and then act from what your higher being says. If you are stuck in I don't know, get a piece of paper out and free write. Let your brain dump onto that paper. Doesn't have to be pretty. You're not turning it in. Grammar, sentence structure, none of that matters. It's like word vomit on a page. Just allow yourself to go. Second tip, talk to what is lost. If that's a person, talk to them. If it's an opportunity, talk to that opportunity. If it's an old friendship, talk to that friendship. If it's an old version of yourself that you've realized you've lost, talk to what's lost. I talk to the children that I won't have in this lifetime. And I do it like this, no matter how weird it might sound. There are some children out there in the universe. There's so much in this universe I will never be able to understand, spiritually and energetically. So I decide to have a faith in there are other versions of me out there, an infinite number of versions of me out there. And just not in this version do I have those children. In other versions, I am happily, successfully enjoying being a mother of 6. In some universes, maybe I'm the mother of 8 or 12. I might say, hello. Hello. I hope you are joyful and expansive wherever you are. Thanks for the moment. Thanks for the reminder. I choose to be in joy there. What is not for me in this lifetime is for me and others. I'm allowed that thought. And if you would like to play around with that thought and see what it might do for you, I am giving it to you. Use it, change it, modify it, play around with it. See what it does for you. We can bring peace to anything that we've lost again and again and again. And we don't have to fight that we might need that again and again and again. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not doing my work because I attend to grief as it bubbles up in me. It is a universal experience as a human being. We will lose so much in this life. We get to learn how to move through. Another tip, balance mind and body. So many highly sensitive people are way too heady. It is a problem I have with basic traditional talk therapy. There is a time and a place to talk and to process, and there is a time and a place to stop talking, stop thinking, and get into your body and into action. This can be as simple as realizing my mind is spinning on ideas because our minds are processors. It'll try to work out an emotion like it's working out a math problem again and again and again till it gets a satisfactory answer. Well, it's not going to, because our feelings are not meant to be thought. Our thoughts are meant to be thought. Our feelings are meant to be felt. So get out of your head. Quit thinking those feelings, wondering, why am I still stuck? Get into that good self-talk. If you can't find your own, turn on any episode, borrow some of mine. Go connect with people who care about you. Move into your life despite a feeling that's heavy with grief. Even if you're in depression, will yourself, drag yourself out of bed, out of the house. Simply go for a walk. When you get your physical body moving, you'd be surprised how much that starts to move your emotional process forward also. Another tip, please give yourself permission to act as if. In the pursuit of being authentic and honest, so many highly sensitive people will not allow themselves to use the tool of acting as if. We act as if to move forward, to go through the motions until the motions of life pull you back into living. So act as if, smile even if you feel down. You're not in denial of your truth when you do that. You are saying to yourself, yes, I recognize that you were down. This has been a heavy season. But it is right for us to balance that out. It is right for me to smile. It is right for me to live despite, I keep saying despite, it's a very important word, despite this pain. Despite my critical voice, despite what the world and my family has taught me about feeling my emotion. You get to practice peace as an act. Sometimes we need a radical act of defiance as we process emotion, because depression and anger can be such seductive forces that pull us into holes that we then have to climb out of. That smile, that walk, that I'm going to go meet my girlfriend for dinner, despite feeling like a Debbie Downer today. These are acts towards your life and living. And if we have lost people or a lot of opportunities or time, we don't want to give unnecessary time to more down feeling. The human being sometimes fights internally, our psychology, for congruence. We feel down, we will do acts that keep us down. Sometimes we have to fight and do what is very clearly incongruent with depression, incongruent with sadness, incongruent with desperateness, incongruent with a £1 million loss. I think this is the last tip I've got for you. You can trust, and when you can't trust it yourself, you can say out loud, Nikki trusts this. Why would she lie to me about this? I will trust it for you until you learn to trust it yourself. If you just let me, I'll do that for you. Trust and grief, it flows in waves and seasons. One of the most powerful mantras that has held me through pain in my life is that this is just a moment in time and it will pass. Look back at your own life. It is a beautiful truth sometimes and a hard truth sometimes that all seasons pass. Allow solace in this impermanence when it comes to your grief. What you feel now will not necessarily be what you feel tomorrow, next week, next month, next season, next year. If you need to grieve that nothing stays the same, that the seasons pass, no matter how much our inner children might want a certain season, like a summer vacation, to stay forever, then allow yourself to own that and grieve it. Oh, I lied. I have more tips for you. Know that you can allow reasonable compartmentalization. Sometimes we accidentally think, oh my goodness, if I loved somebody and I lost them, then I should hold them right here. And I shouldn't smile, I shouldn't laugh because they can't anymore. Those thoughts are not helpful. They're not viable thoughts. They're not healthy thoughts. They're thoughts that come from the wound. And we need our thoughts to come from our healing, our wholeness, our healthiness. We can love someone very much, but we don't need to carry the pain of them sort of right here between us and the world and everything we see, everything we sense, everything we feel, everything we talk through or emote through. We can allow a reasonable compartmentalization. If I need to compartmentalize the loss of my sisters or my grandparents, I can say to myself, I've thought about them enough for today. Now let's get back to my life, to living. And I'm going to put them, in my mind, it's on a shelf, in sort of a cupboard. I can put a basket on a shelf and close that cupboard, close that pantry door, knowing that it's there for me whenever I need to process it or look at it or take it out, or even forgive myself for carrying it when it's heavy. Allow reasonable compartmentalization. And this is the final tip. To make meaning. And if you look up anything about grief, you will see this, that we make meaning. This is when you are willing, and it's not in day one of grieving, but when you're willing and moving through the process, you will hit a point where you get to be willing to find purpose. This may involve turning shit into fertilizer for growth. You make meaning and you become who you are as you integrate that loss into your being. Part of why I share with you some of the wisdom, some of what was lovely and amazing about my grandparents is because they live on when I do so. And every time I do so, I make meaning out of their loss. It's an honoring. For the big, giant griefs of our life, we may do that always. I am proud to make that kind of meaning. We know we're healing when the process of grief turns into a process of gratitude. I am so grateful for the time my grandparents are in my life, for what it's taught me, their wisdom that they directly wanted me to learn, and what going through the grief of them has taught me about life and about me. Remember what process means. I don't think you can hear me say this and paint a bunch of gratitude or meaning making over your pain. Kind of like we shouldn't really paint over wallpaper. You get to release, take that wallpaper off the wall before you give it a fresh coat of gratitude paint. Release your pain. Move forward with simple gratitude. You're going to play around with gratitude. You're going to hop around just like that little pinball. And you're going to get a little acceptance. Then you're going to go back to some anger. Then maybe some denial. Then maybe some bargaining. And then back to acceptance. Gratitude is not a sweeping it under the rug for a lifetime. That would be staying in denial or any other stage and stagnating. And many people do this. Grief is aided by actionable moving through. Not waiting for a time to pass. It's a common saying around grief. Time heals all wounds. No, it doesn't. Time may mellow initial reaction, but it doesn't heal wounds. Time heals all wounds. Now, when I hear someone say this is how I interpret it. That person is saying, I'm unwilling to attend to my grief in any kind of actionable way. My plan is to cross my fingers, put my head down, work hard at life, and just hope it floats away. I don't get behind that idea. Time doesn't heal all wounds. It heals aggravations. It heals stuff like your sibling ruining your favorite shirt when you were in 7th grade. Time will give you space to forget that, not care about that, and move on from that. But wounds? Time doesn't heal wounds. Work heals wounds. Wounds need deep, often painful, cleaning out, or they get infected and they fester. I don't want anybody's grief festering. If you have a grief wound, your healing is in your action. In a recent episode, I gave you the visualization of letting go, of leaving a heavy backpack of your stress, of your pain, of dropping it on the side of the road and being willing to move forward without it. Grief will be a lot of processing and letting go, bit by bit by bit, as we realize what we're holding on to. And as we decide, it is a decision, as we decide to let go, we can let go of the hurt and hold on to the love for all of our lives. When we get to acceptance, in general, sort of the goal of peace, we also teach our bodies, our minds, our hearts to acclimate to peace. So if you've been interested in my peace course and you're grieving, I want you to know that having these practices of peace can be an invaluable tool that teaches you real coping strategies that move you forward through grief, that teach you how to find peace from processing your pain. And this brings us closer to acceptance, closer to that feeling of peace that we know we deserve, that we want to feel. When we have coping strategies, when we have peace practices, this essentially feels in the grief process like we're on that island and all of a sudden a magical boat and oar shows up. That's what coping strategies do for us. It gives us the boat and an oar so that we don't have to swim through shark-infested waters to get to the safe shore. So be brave. Be willing to actionably grieve, and you will get to new acceptance and peace. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that your grief and pain must equal how much you loved and cared. This is a lie that keeps us in pain longer than need be. You can take or toss this reframe I'm offering, But if we've lost a human being and that's what we're grieving, it is only right to me that I don't waste my precious life sort of milking or harboring sadness and pain. They can't live anymore. Me becoming depressed is not an honoring of their life. Me living despite the pain of losing them is. I honor them and I honor me when I move forward, no matter how painful. Thank you so much for being on this podcast journey with me. I hope these episodes that we've done on grief help you hold yourself with more respect, more self-love, more compassionate understanding of your humanity as you move through this life. We gain so much with every step forward in our lives, and we also say goodbye to so much. Having strong coping strategies for loss is part of how we take care of ourselves on the path of life. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Patreon members. We're going to do some shout outs soon. Take care of yourselves till next time. I am an emotional badass. You are an emotional badass. And together we are where Moxie meets mindful. Light and love. And may we all get to the other side of our grief. I'll see you right here next time for a brand new episode. Bye-bye.